Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Sri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Radha and Mati, when are you ready? You can start, Mati.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Apatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishriki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12. Dhruv Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text 42. The great sage Narada continued. Just see how Dhruv Maharaj aggrieved all the harsh words of his stepmother, went to the forest at the age of only 5 years, and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unconquerable, Dhruv Maharaj defeated him with a specific qualification by the Lord devotees. Text 43. Dhruv Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of only 5 or 6 years. After undergoing austerity for 6 months, alas, a great Kshatriya cannot achieve such a position even after undergoing austerities for many, many years. Text 44. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, whatever you have asked for me about the great reputation and the characters of Dhruv Maharaj, I have explained to you in all detail. Great saintly persons and the devotees very much like to hear about the Dhruv Maharaj. Text 45. By hearing the narration of the Dhruv Maharaj, one can fulfill the desire for the wealth, reputation, and increased duration of life. It is so auspicious that one can even go to the heavenly planet or attain the Dhruv Loka, which was achieved by Dhruv Maharaj just by hearing about him. The demigods also became pleased because this narration is so glorious and it is so powerful that it can counteract all the results of one's sinful actions. Text 46. Anyone who hears the narration of the Dhruv Maharaj and who repeatedly tires with the faith and the devotions to understand his pure character, attains the pure devotional platform, and executes the pure devotional service. By such activities, one can diminish the threefolded miserable conditions of material life. Text 47. Anyone who hears this narration of Dhruv Maharaj acquires exalted qualities like him. For anyone who desires the greatness, overs, or the influence, here is the process by which to acquire them. And for the thoughtful men who want the adoration, here is the proper means. Text 48. The great sage Maitreya recommended one should chant of the character and the activities of Dhruv Maharaj both in the morning and in the evening with the great attention and care in a society of Brahmanas or others twice born persons. Text 49 and 50. Persons who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord should recite this narration of Dhruv Maharaj without taking remunerations. Specifically, recitation is recommended on the full moon, on the dark moon day, on the day after Ekadashi, on the appearance of Shravana star at the end of the particular tithi, or the occasion of Prajatipati at the end of the month, or on Saturday or on Sunday. Such recitation should, of course, be performed before a favorable audience. When recitation is performed this way, without professional motive, the reciter and the audience become perfect. Text 51. The narration of Dhruv Maharaj is sublime knowledge for the attainment of immortality. Person unaware of the absolute truth can be lead to the path of the truth. Those who, out of transcendental kindness, take on the responsibility of becoming the master protector of the poor living entities, automatically gains the interest and the blessings of the demigods. Text 52. The transcendental activities of Dhruv Maharaj are well known all over the world and they are very pure. In childhood, Dhruv Maharaj rejected all kinds of toys and playthings, left the protection of his mother, and seriously took the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. My dear Vidura, I therefore conclude the narration further, for I have described to you all the details. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of Canto 4, Chapter 12, Dhruv Maharaj, entitled Dhruv Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhuri. Hare Krishna. Yeah, when you're ready, you can start, Prabhuji. Sundaracala Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Radharani Mataji, for reading today's translations. The Dhruva goes back to the Godhead. So that is the title of 12th chapter. Today we're going to conclude the 12th chapter. We have heard so far from Himanshu Prabhu from previous class till 41st verse, where Narada Muni glorifies Dhruva at the Pracheta's sacrifice. And we will continue from that verse and conclude this chapter today. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So dynasty of we have heard the dynasty where Dhruva has appeared within the so his grandfather is Swayambhu Manu. So activities of Dhruva Maharaja was thoroughly discussed thus in our previous classes. So Dhruva tried to get on Uttanapada's lap, and his stepmother Suruchi chastised him. And advised by Suniti and guided by Narada, Dhruva did austerities in Madhuvana. So where even Lord Krishna appeared and he roamed in Madhuvana. So in that place he has done austerities to please the Lord for attaining the highest position in the three worlds. And then the Lord appeared. Dhruva offered prayers and the Lord offered benedictions. Dhruva has regretted his material ambitions and returned home. So you can witness the transformation of heart. No matter what is the initial desire of approaching the Lord, still the transformation we have observed in Dhruva Maharaj's case, such an exemplary devotee. In time, Uttanapada enthroned Dhruva Maharaj and retired. So hearing that Yakshas had killed his brother Uttama, and Dhruva killed many Yakshas. Upon Manu's advice, he stopped fighting and pleased Kuvera. And then Dhruva ruled the kingdom for many years and worshipped the Lord through sacrifices. Finally, he also retired. So here a significant point is the points he considered for retirement. Even Uttanapada, the points that he has considered before retirement is that, his son, in this case, Dhruva Maharaj is suitably matured, right? And he has the capacity to take charge of the kingdom. And his ministers also agreed for enthroning Dhruva Maharaj. And similarly, citizens are fond of him. And based on these three conditions, he was enthroned as a king. Similarly, when Dhruva Maharaj is retiring, he also considered these 3 points. So you can observe in the ancient aristocracy, there was never a point where there is a domination of one person and everybody simply listens to him. Forced. It is not forced on people. There is a citizen's satisfactory rating is also considered. Not that some random person can be directly enthroned just because he's son of so and so exalted emperor. So we can see how nicely in the Vedic system, the kingly systems were functioning, which are beneficial for ultimately the people. So today I will go to the verse number 42. I'll briefly touch upon 41 also, because this is the connectivity verse. So where the greatest sage Narada said, simply by influence of his spiritual advancement and powerful austerity, Dhruva, the son of Suniti, who was devoted to, Suniti, who is devoted to her husband, acquired an exalted position not possible to attain even for so-called Vedantists or strict followers of Vedic principles, not to speak of ordinary human beings. So Vedavad, Vedantists, strict followers of Vedic rituals, the ordinary human beings. These two groups of people cannot attain this position that Dhruva Maharaj has acquired. That is what is explained in the 41st verse. So Dhruva Maharaj, what he has attained cannot be attained by strictly following the rituals of Vedas, and and one cannot, even though despite a person can be a great king or a great sage, that is not really a factor to become to acquire a position that Dhruva Maharaj has acquired. That is not the qualification. So despite earlier sages, kings were even kings were Rajarshis. Even despite of that condition, this is considered very rare, even for such great exalted personalities. What Dhruva Maharaj has acquired, the mercy of Lord Krishna. So, how Dhruva has conquered unconquerable Lord? How he has attained the position where he has achieved, like the entry into the Dhruvaloka, entry into the Vaikunta. So how did he conquered the unconquerable Lord is explained in the 42nd verse. The great sage, actually this is one of the verses that we can memorize. Yappancha varsho gurudara vaks sharair bhinnena yato hrudayena dutya vanam mad adesha karo ajitam prabhum jigaya tad bhakta gunai parajitam. It's explained that by conquering the unconquerable, there are so many important statements here. Mad adesha karo. Narada Muni is saying, Mad adesha karo. He has done so, the austerities of entering into the forest and pleasing the Lord, by my instruction. And by following my instruction, Ajitam Prabhum, the Supreme Lord, who cannot be conquered, who is impossible to be conquered, very difficult to be conquered. Jigaya tad bhakta gunai parajitam. He acquired all the necessary qualities necessary to be able to conquer that unconquerable Lord. That is what is mentioned in this verse. So this whole purport, every single line cannot be skipped, because the whole purport is very, very essence giving purport. But I will touch upon few points. So conquering the unconquerable. Supreme Lord is unconquerable, but he voluntarily accepts subordination to the devotional qualities of his devotees. Srila Prabhupada gives examples of Yashodamai. So Lord likes to be under control of his devotees. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Lord does not feel as pleased when offered exalted prayers as it does, when a devotee chastises him. As a subordinate, out of reverential feeling, if devotee may have offered exalted prayers to the Lord out of pure love, a devotee may also chastise the Lord out of pure love. So Lord enjoys this chastisement given by loving devotee who is at that level, not everyone. Lord enjoys this more than the reverential prayers, is what mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, mentioned by Prabhupada. So Lord likes chastisement of pure devotee, but pure love, then exalted prayer of a devotee in reverential feeling. So Lord willingly submits to his pure devotee. Is not forced, but he willingly does it. He's Swarat, because he's supremely independent. He's not obliged, but he does it out of his own will. So how does Dhruva conquer unconquerable Lord? Is by following the Guru. This is the main essence of this purport. So how did Dhruva Maharaj conquered unconquerable Lord? Is by following Guru's instructions. Adav Guru Ashrayam. That's how our spiritual life begins. Not that we simply inquisitively going in YouTube and searching in YouTube for some spiritual topics. That is not the beginning of spirituality. The spirituality beginning starts Adav Guru Ashrayam. That's theoretically, that is what Bhagavatam say, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says. Adav Guru Ashrayam. In the beginning, one must accept spiritual master. If one follows spiritual master direction, then it is not difficult to achieve the favor of the Lord. That is how we achieve the exalted favor of the Lord. It cannot be achieved simply by personal endeavor. It has to be achieved only through following the instructions of spiritual master, taking shelter of spiritual master. What is the key for this favor is hearing. So hearing is the key for achieving the favor of the Supreme Lord. So that is where it boils down to. Sum total of devotional qualities is the development of unalloyed love for Krishna. This unalloyed love for Krishna can be, however, only be achieved by simply by hearing about him. And Lord Chaitanya said about he also very much emphasized about hearing about the Lord. Hearing is key to develop unalloyed devotion. The unalloyed devotion, one can conquer unconquerable Lord. That is the final essence. So many verses towards the end of the chapter is about hearing. 43rd, beginning from 43rd verse. So Dhruva Maharaja attained an exalted position at a stage of only 5 or 6 years after undergoing austerity for 6 months. And here he is also interestingly being described as Narada addressed Dhruva here as a Kshatriya Bandhu. That means someone who has not fully trained as a Kshatriya. He's just 5-year-old, right? So Dhruva Maharaj is addressed like that because he's just 5-year-old, and one who is born in a Brahmana family is not immediately accepted as Brahmana. He has to undergo the purificative processes and like, for example, training. Similarly, Dhruva, being Kshatriya Bandhu, attained this kind of great exalted position. So Narada is pride, is very happy of having disciple like Dhruva. And he has many other disciples, but no one achieved in such a short time, in 6 months. So Srila Prabhupada says, even Narada Muni, he has went to, after many generations after Dhruva has left, his descendants, Prachyanabarbhi, when he is performing the sacrificial ceremony, he went to that sacrificial ceremony, which is many thousands of years later than what after Dhruva has left, probably million, maybe, we don't know how many years. Many generations after Dhruva has already left back to Godhead, he went to Prachyanabarbhi when he was ruling the kingdom on one side of the planet, and he is glorifying Dhruva as if it has happened, is happening right now. That is how Narada Muni, that much how he adores Dhruva. And that is the position of Dhruva's devotion to Lord Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gives an example of Bharat. He took 3 lives to ascend to the Vaikuntha. He became a king as a Bharata, son of Rishabhadev, one of the 100 sons. And then he became a deer in the next life, and then he became a Jada Bharat in the 3rd life, and after that he ascended to Vaikuntha. So one can attain Vaikuntha Loka in one life only, without waiting for many lives and many years. And that's what Prabhupada says. And how do we do that? Srila Prabhupada told once that is Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing that it is a very good deal to accept Krishna consciousness in our life, which is a mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is not available in any period of time in the whole kalpa, but accept this very precious time where we were given this exalted opportunity of taking up simplified Krishna consciousness. In other times it is so complicated, and so it is a very good deal. Srila Prabhupada says, we have lived so many lifetimes. Srila Prabhupada is asking the listeners, we have lived so many lifetimes for sense gratification. Just give this one life to Krishna. You need not take birth again. That is what Srila Prabhupada, the Acharya, is ensuring. So which Krishna cannot simply put it aside. So Krishna will be happily accepting us if we simply follow this instruction given by Srila Prabhupada. And that needs a lot of determination or uh, liking towards a goal to achieve this. First, we need to develop the liking and the goal to develop this. In one life, if you take priority to go back to Godhead, take spiritual practice seriously, then it is achieved in one life. Prabhupada says, if one becomes sincere, serious as Dhruva, and then serve this spiritual master, approach Supreme Lord through spiritual master, then one can go back to Godhead in one life. We will enter into benedictions part, which is effect of hearing Dhruva's pastimes from 44th verse. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, whatever you have asked from me about the greatest reputation of character of Dhruva Maharaj, I have explained to you in detail. Great saintly persons and devotees very much like to hear about Dhruva Maharaj. As you can see, karmis, yogis, jnanis, not just bhaktas, everyone likes to hear Dhruva Maharaj. That is the significance of Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. Samantam Satam, devotees very much like to hear also about Dhruva Maharaj. That what is the potency of hearing about devotee is highlighted also. Hearing pastimes of Supreme Lord is one thing. Hearing about pastimes of activities of devotees is equally potent, like hearing pastimes of the Lord. A neophyte devotee, they may simply try to understand pastimes of the Lord, and they might, when we talk about when we hear about, when we are in the beginning phases, when we hear about someone speaking about pastimes of exalted devotees of the Lord, we might not show so much of interest actually, right? But here it is mentioned by Prabhupada, but such discrimination should be, should not be imbibed by a devotee. We should not have such discrimination because they are at an equal level, in an equal platform. A real devotee is the one who actually does not discriminate between the activities of pure devotee and activities of Lord himself. I cannot see Lord in Dhruva's fighting acts. We cannot say that because there is so many lessons even in Dhruva's fighting episode that we can derive, and we can develop bhakti towards Krishna just by hearing the fighting episode of Dhruva Maharaj. We have seen how when he was lost in his act of killing Yakshas, though he was lost in that act, a help was sent by Supreme Lord, and then sages reminded him, and then also Manu, his grandfather, came up for his rescue. So devotees, when we are in Supreme Lord says, when we are worshipping Supreme Lord in devotees association, devotees always help us out. They rescue us out when we are slipping away. That is how essence of hearing the activities of devotees is very essential, not just directly hearing about the Lord. And Srimad Bhagavatam is just that. It is a glorification of Supreme Lord in the words of devotees, exalted devotees. Similarly, it is also glorification of exalted devotees of the Supreme Lord. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam gives us more practical implementation of a bhakti, of the principles mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, which are statements of Lord Krishna directly. So even within the pastimes of the Lord, one shouldn't directly jump to the esoteric pastimes like Rasa Leela. because that will not help us much if we directly jump to the esoteric pastimes. And also it is mentioned we should not do professional recitations. Each and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam should be read from the beginning and then go to the state of to the pastimes of 10th canto. So what kind of destinations one will get by hearing narration about Dhruva? By hearing narration of Dhumraja, one can fulfill desires for wealth, reputation, increase the duration of life. It is also so auspicious that one can even go to the heavenly planet or attain Dhruvaloka, which was achieved by Dhruva Maharaj just by hearing about him. The demigods also become pleased because this narration is so glorious, that it is so powerful that it can counteract all the results of one sinful actions. So it is not that everyone is a pure devotee. Different kinds of people are there. So they have different kinds of aspirations. Some may want to go to heavenly planets, some may want to go to Dhruvaloka, some may want to have, some may want to worship the demigods. So whatever category we may belong to, still we can hear Dhruva's pastimes and get benefited. Akama sarvakama va moksha kama udharati. Whether we have no desires, many desires, whether we want liberation, we should worship Supreme Lord. Similarly, there is no difference between the activities and character of Supreme Lord and his pure devotees. So whatever aspirations we may have still, we may have still, we can get benefit by hearing the Dhruva's pastimes. So in text 46, one gets pure devotional service by hearing Dhruva's pastimes. Anyone, which is very rare. This is super benediction. If you can see, verse 46 is a benediction for us. And that is not available anywhere. Anyone who hears this narration of Dhruva Maharaja and who repeatedly tries with faith and devotion to understand his pure character attains the pure devotional platform and executes pure devotional service. By such activities, one can diminish the threefold miserable conditions of material life. And Achyuta Priya Cheshtitam, it is mentioned in this verse, right? That means those who are very dear to the Lord, activities of his devotees. So pastimes of the Lord very dear. The whole, if you see the whole verses, is talking about the benediction that we are going to have, that we can receive potentially by hearing Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. That means by hearing about the devotee. So hearing about his devotee, Supreme Lord, is also pleasing and potent. To become great devotee, one attains. So one attains pure devotional service. Here Maitreya Muni is emphasizing, and how do we achieve it? Is the procedure to achieve it is what Maitreya Muni is emphasizing here. And in the 47th verse, anyone who hears this narration acquires exalted qualities like Dhruva Maharaj. This is amazing. And what are the qualities? We will, you might have heard already in the earlier class. I'll also touch upon those points. I'll have to scroll up. Whatever ambitious kings that are desirable by great persons can be fulfilled by hearing, reading, and understanding Dhruva's pastimes. So where to discuss, when to discuss, how to discuss is mentioned in the 48th verse, the Dhruva's pastimes. So only in the association of devotees can one understand importance of pastimes of Supreme Personality of Godhead or devotees. That is one of the principle. Dhruva himself asked Lord, when Lord came to bless him, that he himself asked, I want association of devotees, and I want to hear about you in that association. Twayi me prasango. So importance of association has a key role for understanding these pastimes. Here Prabhupada says ISKCON is providing that kind of association. And Dvija, the society of Brahmanas, twice born is there. Whatever is recommended in this verse. So ISKCON is a society of Brahmanas. And Srila Prabhupada writes, first birth is given by parents and second birth is given by spiritual master. And the Vedic knowledge is also bestowed to that to each of those devotees. Unless one is twice born, one cannot understand the characteristics of Lord and devotees. So ISKCON provides us this facility in association of devotees. Let's happily take it up. And next verse talks about 49 to 50. Three things mentioned. We should recite person taken from the person who has taken complete shelter of the Lord. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one should not accept any remuneration payment. This devotee is hearing with faith the topics about Krishna from me. And that is my remuneration. This should be the mood that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is recommended for the speaker. I did not need any more payment. Srila Prabhupada mood is just eagerness, enthusiasm to hear the Krishna Katha is the requirement of the hearer. Just that fact that he's sitting hearing is remuneration. The professional recitation will not lead to the spiritual advancement. Prabhupada emphasizes here. And although past tense itself is potent, the way it is recited, very importantly, Prabhupada is highlighting the way it is recited, though the past tense is potent, and the purpose for which it is being recited may not allow the full manifestation of benefits. So, one who is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, depending fully on him for the personal maintenance and the maintenance of his family, can obtain the perfection by recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada gives summary of hearing process. Audience must be fully receptive to this, Srimad Bhagavatam message. Reciter should be completely dependent on Supreme Lord. And by that combination, reciter achieves perfect satisfaction and he will be able to please the Lord. Both audience and reciter are delivered in this scenario simply by process of delivering. And what the verse in the 18th chapter of first canto, there is a verse that says, Tanno bhavan vai bhagavat pradhano mahattamekanta parayanasya harerudaram charitam vishuddham sushrushatam no vitanotu vidvan. That's the perfect combination. So it says the perfect subject matter is Krishna Katha. The one who is dedicated, surrendered to the Supreme Lord should be the speaker. And the one who is, and the qualification for hearer is just to be hearing from with the Shraddha and faith from that exalted speaker. That is the combination success which will deliver all the both the speaker as well as the hearer. So for the few there are few more benedictions mentioned in the 51st line, 51st verse. Devas tasya anugrahate, means by worshipping the Supreme Lord, Dhruva Maharaja in this case, Devas were satisfied. They were also automatically got satisfied. So whether we directly worship demigods or not is not so important or key, but the key here is yatha taror mula nisechanena trupyanti tat skanda bhujopashakaha pranopaharan yathendriyana. So that verse basically what it is saying, when we worship when we pour the water in the root of the tree, the skanda, which is the stem, branches, and the twigs, and the all the everything is nourished. Similarly, when we pour, so when we feed the stomach, all the life air gets energized. When the life air is energized, all the indriyas gets energized. The whole body gets activated. Similarly, when we worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, when we pour all our devotion towards exclusive to Supreme Lord, what happens is the rest of the things automatically manifest. For example, demigod's mercy also manifested in Dhruva Maharaj's case, as highlighted in this verse. This is very significant also. One may say, what if I just, the tree leaves are getting dirty. Let me also water leaves so that it looks cleaner. Let me also water branches. Let me also do demigod worship parallel with my devotion to the Krishna. But the problem here Narada says, Pranopaharan yathendriyanam. There here he this removes our you know our in conclusion where some people might think that I can do parallel everything. Here Narada is saying, if you don't feed your stomach, no matter how many gulab jamuns you put in your nose, how many rasagullas you put in your ears, it will not be energizing your body. So that's why he gave the second example in that verse. So the 52nd verse, so basically talks about Dhruva Maharaj's fame. A devotee such as Dhruva Maharaja is well known all over the world. Even now, after millions of years, we still remember Dhruva Maharaj. We are still talking about him, hearing about him. And that is the glory of such exalted position that Dhruva Maharaj. You know, we never hear from so much past, you know, from millions of years ago, any past time that talks about a karmi. Nobody would like to hear such as, we never get to hear such a topic from Srimad Bhagavatam, unless it is related to Bhagavan or his devotees. So the glory of a person is achieved only when that person is completely surrendered to this Lord, and you know, the rest of the things are automatically bestowed by Supreme Lord at Supreme Lord's will. That is when a person can really be achieving that glorified position. So that is the essence of today's lesson, dear devotees. So here we end the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj. Chanakya Pandit also was highlighted in this, the statement of Chanakya Pandit was highlighted by Srila Prabhupada. Life is certainly short for everyone, but one who acts properly, his reputation will remain for generations. Krishna is everlastingly famous, so the reputation of his devotees is also everlasting. Vikhyata, Vishuddha. Here it is mentioned he's famous, but not for impure causes. He's famous for the pure causes. Vishuddha. Vikhyata Vishuddha. That's why it is mentioned. So that's the glory of Dhruva Maharaj. Activities are Vikhyata, very famous. At the same time, it is transcendental Vishuddha. Will I conclude it here, dear devotees? If you have any questions, please let me know. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, bro, for a wonderful class. Srimad Bhagavatam ki